Good morning and welcome to the Daily Ramble here on Claret and Booze. It's nearly Christmas. My name's Gary and welcome to the show. Please give the video a watch, and if you like what you see, please subscribe to the channel Claret and Booze. Give the video a like and hit the bell notification icon. So I've got just one topic to discuss today, and it's a bit of an opinion piece actually. Going to be talking about West Ham, the Academy of Football. So, you know, we pride ourselves on that name, and it's delivered. The Academy itself has delivered so many things over the years, so many great products in terms of, you know, top level elite footballers. And, you know, going back in time, let's just recount a few of those. Sid Puddlefoot, Ken Brown, Bobby Moore, Jeff Hurst, Martin Peters, Trevor Brooking, hurts, but Frank Lampard Jr., Tony Cottee, Paul Ince, again it hurts, Joey Cole, Rio Ferdinand, Michael Carrick, Jermaine Defoe, Glenn Johnson, Declan Rice. We won't include the others like Sol Campbell, John Terry, you know, who could also be described as elite. That is a list of players who have massively benefited West Ham, you know, whether it be achieving things for West Ham or achieving a great transfer fee to move away from West Ham. But but nonetheless, all those players have moved on, you know, to play at the very, very top level, and many of them won trophies at West Ham, you know. So you've got to say that over the years, the Academy has delivered pretty much everything that's been good about West Ham. All right, I think we can all agree on that. Now, if you look at a model like Brentford, for instance, Brentford do not have an academy. Their model insists that they go and buy talent. They've got a very, very good scouting system, and they go out and they buy talent that's almost ready for the first team, and they get them ready for the first team. You know, it is a way to not spend what is quite a lot of money on running a big organisation. But my question today is, I've just listed a bunch of elite players. Now, there is no question, there is absolutely no question that if you are of an elite level, you will make it and you will come through that youth system and you will play in the first team. Right, that is definitely what will happen to you. However, there is another category of players, and that's not the superstars. That's not the superstars. These are the good players, the very good players who have also delivered, an absolutely fantastic level of service to West Ham. You know, people like Frank Lampard Sr., who did have 2 caps incidentally for England, but Mark Noble, who was a stalwart for many, many years. You know, people like Anton Ferdinand, Elliot Ward, Jack Collison, Tompkins, Connor Coventry, Ben Johnson, who's come through now, Alan Dickens, Alan Kirbishley, Jeff Pike, FA Cup winner, George Paris, legend, Paul Allen, FA Cup winner, Paul Brush, FA Cup winner, Stuart Slater, who I absolutely loved back in the day, and I just wish he could have done it over a longer period for West Ham, Steve Potts, who went on to be a captain of West Ham, and the smallest ever centre half, and Kevin Keane, the bow-legged winger that used to launch himself up and down the wing. Now, if you look at all those players, there's a lot of good players there, a lot of really good players, but very few of them could be described as elite, like the first set of players that I mentioned. Now, would those good players, now you got to bear in mind that Ben Johnson didn't come through under David Moyes' watch, right? Nor did Declan Rice actually. Pellegrini was the one that really gave him his chance. And this is not, you know, just a dig at David Moyes, even though that is the focus of the video. It's a dig at a lot of Premier League managers who do not like to risk the youngsters. They'll risk the elite youngster. You know, like Foden getting his minutes at Man City rather, but they will not. You know, when you're talking about average players today, would Mark Noble have made it into the first team under David Moyes? Would Steve Potts have made it as a defender playing for David Moyes? Would George Paris have made it through? And you've got to say, the answer to that question is it's unlikely. I find it unlikely. There was an interesting discussion that we had on the Sunday night show talking about Declan Rice and the fact that he was given his chance, and given many chances actually by Pellegrini. he didn't cover himself in glory when he first came into the team as a centre-half, did he? He got better when he was moved into central midfield and he started to flourish. But you have to have patience with a player like that and realise that there's a good quality player there and you're going to turn him into something good. Now, would David Moyes have had that same level of patience even with Declan Rice? I mean, I've got to say that I doubt it. And so when you look at all this, I don't think we'd see a sort of average to good player like Steve Potts or Kevin Keane or George Paris make their way through to the first team under David Moyes. I think they would be bit part players like we see with a lot of our youth team at the moment who get trusted only for meaningless League Cup games and when European games are dead. I mean, for God's sake, there was a friendly against Fulham last week and, Moyes would only even use the kids, a number of kids for that towards the end of the game. So it makes you wonder what these kids have got to do. Is there a path through for these kids, not the elite ones, we know about them, but for the good players, is there a path through to the first team? Because I personally think, we've lost people like Grady Diangana, Jeremy Ngakia, Sonny Perkins, and now Harrison Ashby's going out the door. Now, to a greater or lesser extent, you can blame those players for that or not, right? But what I can categorically say is that, and I can say, this just makes perfect sense to me, and that is a kid is brought through, they're in our academy system, they're used to the surroundings, they're used to the coaches, they're developing well, and they're going to continue to develop, right? What seems to be happening at the moment is those players get pulled out of that system before they've fulfilled their potential. Maybe Grady Diangana, for instance, maybe Ngakia, maybe Sonny Perkins, maybe those players, had they stayed in the West Ham system, if they could see a route through to the first team, maybe they would have, with further development under the same system, turned into decent, average, good players, right? And to have great players, you've got to have good players. A team is not made up, especially a West Ham team, is not made up of a load of great players, a load of top players, right? We have a couple, maybe one. So that's the question. There have been players in the past who have left us. Jimmy Bullard, but I think that was our choice rather than his. Kieran Richardson, I think that was his choice to go to Man U. J. Lloyd Samuel. Junior Stanislas, I think, didn't see a route through to the first team. Zavin Hines didn't see a route through to the first team either. And Reece Oxford definitely didn't. I mean, he and again, that could be down to Reece Oxford, right? I'm not blaming the club for that. But in summary, what I'm trying to say is, with all of the huge investment that we put into the academy, are we just setting up an academy to provide players to other clubs and lower leagues? Or are we going to make a concerted effort to create a route through to the first team for those players? I'm not talking about playing them all in some meaningless European game. I'm talking about genuinely blooding a player. For instance, when we needed a centre-half last year and a Lacey, David Moyes would do anything but bring a Lacey on from the bench. So what happens? A Lacey ends up moving. That to my mind shouldn't happen. A Lacey's probably sitting there thinking, I can do anything and I'm not going to get into this team, right? Playing brilliantly in the under-23s, which is a meaningless competition, but I'm playing brilliantly in the under-23s. I'm doing everything I can, and even when the club is absolutely on its arse and has too many injuries, they're not going to turn to me. So that is all the answer you need. And so those players, they go away from their cosy environment at West Ham, where they're developing well, and they're not quite at that finished. They're not quite that finished article yet. They go and they apply their trade elsewhere. It don't make sense to me. So should we have an academy, or should we close it? Should we do a Brentford? Are we just got an academy because we are the Academy of Football, and it'd be a bit embarrassing if we closed it down? My personal belief is the academy should be held on to absolutely, and it should be built upon. And then Mark Noble, who's coming in director of football, apparently one of his roles is to kind of map out that route from youth team to first team. Well, I don't see that happening under David Moyes, because he just doesn't do it. You only have to listen to the Rooney podcast. Even bloody Rooney had to fight to get into the Everton team way back when, even though he was better than all the other players he had. there seems to be a certain resentment of David Moyes of young players and bringing them through and giving them their chance and putting faith in them, right? So I don't see David Moyes giving these players a chance. So I think whilst the Academy of Football under David Moyes is a bit of a waste of time, we're just going to be giving our players away, selling them on. I don't think long term it is. I think we bring in a player who is absolutely, as a manager next, whether it be now, a couple of weeks or in the summer, when David Moyes eventually moves on, the next manager comes in, must have one eye on the academy and trying to make use of the talent that we develop. So yeah, long live the Academy of Football. Anyway, that's me done. If you enjoyed this video, by the way, leave me your comments about this, because this is, I read all your comments for a start, but this is something. Do you think the Academy is a waste of time? Should we persevere with it? Let me know. But if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel Claret and Booze on YouTube, and hit the bell notification icon so you're alerted of former shows. It's even closer to Christmas, so I think we're back. Yeah. We're back on Monday night after the Arsenal game. I think Nick's doing a show tomorrow, so we'll be back before Christmas. See you soon, and come on, you irons.